insurance coming this time. And I don't know if you guys have looked at this time. We'll see. So I wanted to share what I've done because I would love nothing more if. So what is the definition of a consultant?
One who consults.
What does consult mean? Teach them, answer their problems,
Advise.
help them find answers, mentor maybe. So it's not, I'm going to sell you some freeze-dried food, right? How it can bless your life, okay? So what I'm going to talk about, and everybody is told something different about what I'm going to talk about, and I think it was different than what I initially was told. And so this is not customer care. I'm not going to tell you after a sale, call them on this date and 222, like there's better training on that. That's not what this is. This is not necessarily lead generation either. There's a million different ways to lead gen. I will touch on that. I will touch on both of those things a little bit. But this is really about building relationships. And it's about building relationships with your current customers and your potential customers. So potential customers is lead gen, but it's not how to get potential customers. Does that make sense? Okay. So I read a Tony Robbins quote the other day, and it said, "Where focus goes, energy flows." And I mentioned that quote on a training about tracking your numbers. So if you're focusing on your numbers, then your energy is going to go into building your numbers. But in this situation, I want to focus a little bit differently, because if you're focusing on, oh my gosh, I haven't had any sales, oh my gosh, I need to get 4 too, you kind of sound like a desperate salesman. I'm begging my friends, please, 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 somebody do this, I really need this, I really need this, I need to get to Panama. You don't sound like you've got something they need. You sound like you're begging them to help you, which is a very different feeling. So if your focus is on education, consulting, helping, sharing, building relationships, the energy is going to flow that way, and the sales will naturally come. So that's what I really want to focus on, and you can get leads from any source. Everybody kind of has their way that they like to do it, and so I'll kind of touch on what you can do after you get some. And then I really like what Kathy and Annie said about working smarter and not harder, because I really do think there's two sets of people, those who don't know what to do but are willing to do the work, and then those who just don't make the time to do the work. And I want to help those who want to work and want to know, just need a little help to know what to do. If I have 2 hours, where should I spend my time? And that's always a little bit hard. We like to play office sometimes. So just a little overview of what we're going to talk about. I really wanted to go who, what, when, where, why, how, but when I wrote it out, it didn't really make sense. So pretend it sounds catchy. We're just going to go in this order. So why is it so important to build relationships? Who you are and who your ideal customer is. And if that is the topic of your presentation, don't worry, I won't talk about that too much. What kind of consult doing all of that? Sound good? Okay. I may ask for audience interaction, so don't be afraid. They buy your products. They buy you, right? So think about this. Does anybody here have a different secret freeze-dried product that they can sell that no other consultant can? No. Maybe if you have a freeze-dryer, make your own there, but it's not as good. Yeah. So think about this. If you're at an expo or you did Time Out for Women and there's 4 consultants all in a row, someone comes up and they come over here, and they talk to Tracy, blah, blah, blah. Oh, she sold so much. Oh, you're so good. Then the other person comes over here, talks to Amber. Oh, yeah, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to buy that. The next person comes over here, talks to Francesca. And this person signed up as a consultant because they thought it was amazing, okay? Do you think that Francesca was just the best? Yeah. Or maybe she did. So she never quit? Because obviously she can't sell. Do you think maybe Francesca had better products? No, we all have the same. Anybody out of 100 people could go talk to any of those 3 people and get the same product. Everyone in this room has the same product, so why should they buy from you? Why are they going to join Trisha's team and not my team? So I'm not going to take care of them? Personal connection with you. Maybe they're on the keto diet. Do you think that they want to buy from a vegetarian? Is vegetarian going to be able to help them? Not in the same way. Could they still help them? Yes. But are they going to feel more connected to Francesca? Are they going to have a better relationship with Francesca? Because that's her. So you can be who you are, but you don't have to exclude other people. So, I went into the who instead of the why. Sorry, that's my next one. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's why, okay? Because you need to have something unique. And maybe it's an extra thing that you offer. Maybe you also offer preparedness information for them. So if someone is buying because they're interested in preparedness, maybe they want to buy from me because I'm going to teach them how to store it for long term or cook with it with no power. That's something I can offer them that maybe Trisha doesn't want to offer them, right? Okay, so that's why it's important. They become loyal to you and they want to buy from you. So even if they get an email from someone else, they're going to come to you and buy it from you. So I send emails to a lot of people, and sometimes people accidentally reply instead of forward, and they'll say, hey, can you help me get this deal that she's talking about? And they'll send it to them. That's because they're loyal to you. And they should be loyal to you, and that's okay. So you want them to love you and know you and buy from you, because then they will come back and always buy from you. How many of you have had someone that said, have someone else's name at the top of your screen? I really want to make sure you get credit. Who's had that? Did you go? So I just explain it's okay. And Jason said, I went to my customers and I didn't say, hey guys, this new health thing, you want to follow me along there? No, I said, hey, you already have this food. You know this food is awesome. I'd like to see how to make it, how it can be a little crazy, like outdoor cooking. She's going to cater to more of the outdoorsy, backpacky, hunty, like, that's not me. I can't even do a tent very well, so I can in an emergency, but I don't like to all the time. Preparedness industry, yes. Can tons of people be in the health industry? And Jennifer was the company's ideal customer. The same as you. So when I started my business, it was, I don't think I can play crazy lives. But when I was a young mom, I had no money, and I remember telling people, I was like, don't worry, you don't have to do this. And people who were more established, like, now I have 4 shelves. And I tell everyone, these shelves are awesome. So you don't have to be your customer. And that's maybe true for some people more than others. I know Eric probably is not his ideal customer, just guessing. There's Eric. Are you your target customer? Not even a little bit, and that's okay, because he can still serve his ideal customer, right? Okay, so that's all for that. So what should you provide your customer? 15? Okay. Sorry. Are you guys going to want more questions or more talking from me?
Talking.
You can ask me questions later. What should you provide to your customers? These 3 are the pillars of everything that I do in all of my activities. So you want to provide the education. What is education that you can provide customers? So much. Does our business kind of feel a little bit overwhelming sometimes because of how much you have to educate them? Snippets every day. You can do just it, okay? What about support? How can you support your customers or sales are awesome. Some people don't want anything else. They just wanted to know the sales. Other people say, why do you send me all these sales emails? So you got to do a mix, right? How about if they have a problem with their order? You can help them. I've had times where they call customer service and then it's this problem and then this didn't get fixed. And I'm like, why didn't you call me first? And they say, I didn't want to bug you. And I'm like, bug me, please. So get that. They could buy from any. And I think this year, the company can do better and every individual can do better, because there's not like this raving community of people who like thrive, 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 right? Besides us, right? And I've noticed, for me, I try to have like a thrive only group, and I think there is some value to that, but in terms of taking it to a larger scale and to build deeper relationships, it kind of has to be something more. And so that's why I touched on the who first, because if you can be something more, and if your target market is something a little more narrowed down, it's easier to build a community around it. So, but you don't have to exclude. So I don't want you to think that just because you decide you're going to be a keto thriver, that you can't sell to a vegan, or you can't, you don't want to be exclusionary, but people will come to you knowing that's who you are. So for example, when I started my website, it was Food Storage Made Easy, and it was pink. The whole thing was pink, because we were like, yeah, we're going to target moms, and they're going to love this pink website. And I remember coming across a forum post in a prepper forum, and this man was like, guys, I'm embarrassed to refer this link, but there's really good information there. Just like, ignore the fact that there's pink all over it. And that made us redesign our entire website, because we were like, you know what? Why would we want to turn someone away? So if you're vegan, don't make your post say how horrible meat is, because you're going to exclude somebody, correct? You don't want to ever make anyone feel bad. If you're a mom, don't make people without kids feel bad because they don't understand how busy you are. Like, I remember being in college, I was way busier. Like, it's a different kind of busy, okay? So don't exclude, you always want to be inclusive. Does that make sense? Okay, so where do you build these communities? Man, in person is awesome. If you have a team that lives close to you, that's how most people started. It was their friends and their cousins, and it was awesome, but that's not necessarily the landscape we live in anymore, and it's not necessarily feasible for everybody. So you're going to go online, and there's so many places to go. And so you have to think, because I think people will look at leaders and think, oh, I want to do it like them. So there used to be a lot of people that would come to me after a training and say, okay, blogging must be where it's at. How do I make a blog? And I was like, yeah, that's not like the question we need to ask, because that's a whole business that you're going to try to start. Or they look at the Kellers and say, hey, it's got to be on YouTube, that must be why they're successful, because they're on YouTube. And then they'll try to learn and spend a year learning YouTube and have no success in their business because they're learning something new. So where do you hang out already? Who's on Instagram? Who's on Facebook? Lots of people, okay. So you've got to figure out how to build a community in the place where you are, and it's possible on every single platform. So here's the other question: where do your customers hang out online? So this is a funny story. We used to do like quite a bit of YouTubes, but I'm like not good at video, and so our videos were not very good. And we just decided that preppers didn't really like YouTube. That wasn't where our customers were. That's what we thought. So I guess I was wrong. But I realized they just didn't like my videos on YouTube, so you have to put the right content on YouTube. So YouTube people, I got criticized because they thought my pan was too dirty that I was cooking in, and one didn't like that my daughter was helping with my video because she was touching the food. And guess what? I shared that on Facebook, and all the moms were like, oh, that's so cute, I love that your daughter's cooking, oh, you're so sweet. And the YouTube comments for me. Oh, you should be more professional if you're on a YouTube channel, blah, blah, blah. My camera was bad, my kitchen was ugly. So you don't have to change your entire thing of where you are just because you think that people are there. So it's important. If your customers are in a certain place, it might be worth your time to go there. But if you're not already there, that's just going to be harder for you. Does that make sense? And so when you're building a community, this is what I say. You don't have to be everywhere. People go and think they have to have all these different social media platforms, and they don't. You just have to be somewhere every day. That's right. And don't get terrified by every day. I promise that everybody here probably posts something on Facebook every day. You just have to rethink what you're posting and cater it to your business a little bit more. And every day is a little bit of an exaggeration. So these are some of the different social media platforms. So remember, they're buying you, so be you. And there's a balance, obviously. Like, if you wouldn't stand up here and say something to a group, you probably don't want to say that in your Facebook. You don't have to air all your dirty laundry, but they do want to know you on a personal level. And each of these platforms gives you a little bit of a different way to do that. So I still struggle with photography, with food photography. I can make great recipes, but my pictures don't look as good as some people's, and videos are hard. So, Instagram, people that are big on Instagram, like, they look so good. But I just share a little bit on there. Facebook page versus group is big debate. And a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to do on my personal because that's easier and I get more interaction there. But I hesitate to do all your business with your personal because then it's just harder to be more inclusive and on a bigger scale. And you're capped at 5,000 friends. And I know that might feel like you're never going to hit 5,000 friends, but why wouldn't you want to set up a system where you can attract more than that? And on your Facebook profile, that's not building community. So there's kind of like broadcasting out, and I feel like Instagram's more of a broadcasting out, and Facebook's more of like a community feel and getting your customers engaged with you and having that conversation going on. And that happens the best in a group, and that's where I've had a ton of success lately, is in my Facebook group. Probably. So, oops, sorry guys. Other platforms, does anybody here do Pinterest? Okay, Pinterest isn't that awesome for building community. It used to kind of be, because you want to see what your friends were pinning, right? But guess what my #1 traffic source to my website is? Pinterest. If you pin something, it's good and it can go viral. And so you may not want to build a community there, but you may want to use it for lead generation. Twitter, I don't use Twitter, and I don't think that my users use Twitter, but does anyone here love Twitter? Maybe Eric? That's more of his demographic. People that love Twitter, and there is a lot of interaction and discussion that goes on Twitter. YouTube, who here is trying to have a YouTube channel? Does anyone? YouTube can be awesome. YouTube is the second biggest search engine after Google. So it doesn't take you can get lucky, you can have something. If you're in there, it's good. These guys have a community on YouTube. Their people are so loyal and they go in and interact with them, but they're interacting. Those people know them and they're communicating back and forth with them. That's a good place to build a community. Snapchat, does anyone here do Snapchat? That's like the younger generation, but if you're trying to hit the college student market, that may be somewhere where you want to be, okay? LinkedIn, if you're more professional, if you hate social media, you can still go on LinkedIn, and they have a lot of cool features with news feeds and stuff there as well. These are kind of all the places that you can go. I'm going to totally run out of time, so I'll go faster. So when should you be in contact with your customers? This is what Jason really wanted me to share on, and now it's the end of my presentation, so sorry about that. So initially, you want to get them started off right. Regularly, you want to keep them informed. And then daily, you're going to build your relationship. This is what I do initially. So they come into my little realm of influence, and I send them an email sequence. And so the first day, they kind of get here's who I am, here's what you're going to get, blah, 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 blah. And then I send them a little about freeze-dried and dehydrated. It has that image in it they can print, and gives them like a little bit of education. Then 2 days later, they get another email, and it's like, here's introducing you to freeze for them, and here's an awesome fruit pack that you can buy. So I do this, and I go through all the main categories of just Thrive. And I actually want to reevaluate this, and I don't want you to think that you have to do it like this. So whatever your thing is, whoever your people are, if you're in prepping, send them a little, and here's the best ways I use it for 72-hour kits. Here's the best ways I use it for a 3-month supply. You can kind of do whatever your thing is and make it unique to you. And so whatever value you're adding to your customer, you add it in this. But they're getting emails from me every few days as soon as they join my list or buy a product or whatever. And so that's the education component, right? Then regularly, I send them newsletters. So I send an educational one and a sales one every month. So this will be the education one. And I'm like, hey, here's an idea. You can make these little eggs in a jar. Here's meal in a jar, meal in a jar. Guys, I started this group and I send people, so it's like a separate email actually. But every month I take the monthly specials, I make a recipe that you and then I tell them the shopping list, buy this can, buy this can, buy this can. And people are like, where's the next month's recipe? I can't wait to make this one. Like I'm having people come to me and say, why haven't you emailed me yet this month? In 8 years, that's never happened to me before. Where's your newsletter? Does anyone say that to you? Where was your newsletter this month? Tracy gets it if she doesn't do her Facebook Live, but nobody is begging for an email. So they're doing this and then they're going and buying everything I told them to buy. Because I educated them, and then, I'll show this later, but then they come and then they post it in my Facebook group and say, hey, I made my monthly jar meal, it was so awesome. and they're loving it. So this is my education one. This is monthly specials. Thrive makes this easy. If you don't know what to do, you can't build graphics, you go to your tools, and then, I don't know how to do this, but email promotions. You can pick March specials, and you can use the stuff that the company gives you. So usually at the start of the month, I'll send an educational email that says, oh, this is based on the specials this month, so grab your specials. Then at the end of the month, maybe a couple days before, I'll send, hey, don't forget, these were the monthly specials, and then give like a little education, something at the bottom. So it's like big education, small sales, big sales, small education. And then daily, these are where you can build a community. So here's a few examples of things you can post, and you really want to be used. So I do a combination of kids, prepping, cooking, pets, and just life, Utah, fun, outdoors, whatever. And so I'm not always posting Thrive. I'm posting all these different aspects of my life that kind of fit my brand that I'm trying to build. This was just my daughter's birthday party, and she opened up 6 cans of yogurt, every single flavor, and had them taste them all. I posted that on Instagram, and people thought it was hilarious. This is YouTube, so I don't get very good YouTube, but so this is actually the inventor of those lids that we have in the store. They're amazing. So I had them come and show me how to use it, and I put it on Facebook Live and downloaded it and uploaded it to YouTube. So that's another opportunity. Then Pinterest. So I made this emergency kit. I gave it to my 2 pregnant sisters. They get asked probably like every couple of months, hey, are you on Pinterest? Because they see their picture in it. That one went viral, 134,000 repins on that stupid thing. So you never know what's and all of those go to my website. And so then how do you catch them from there? Well, you get them on your email list, and then all of a sudden, you got some new leads. This is my Facebook. So here's my cute dog on St. Patrick's Day. I also posted other stuff, but people just want to know you. They want to see you, because that's why they're there. And then this is one of my customers who did meal in a jars using my meal in a jar book with my cute labels. She posted that, and there's 40 comments. Guess what they all were? Where'd you get those labels? Where'd you get those recipes? How can I get that? How can I get that? Guess what? I can tell you where you can get those, right? Community. Okay, so how? And now I'm out of time. But email list is critical. You guys, I'm sorry, I could do whole trainings on how to build an email list, but it doesn't matter if you build an email list if you're not using it properly. So I hope that you can go and go to these places. These are the providers. MailChimp is best for getting started because it's free for the first few thousand people. FitFu's really good if you want to share your emails with your team. It's like $20 a month, I think, but I think it caps. Most of them, as you grow your list, it costs more, and that's a little bit hard unless you're making really good money from your list. But any of these will have online tutorials, so you don't need to learn that from me. You need to learn your strategy from people who are doing it in your business. But the technicality, you can learn that from other places and probably learn it better. But what the difference the words you need to know is follow-up sequence is what they get when they first join. So they're going to get it scheduled every 2 days, and it automatically goes. So I don't have to do that. Broadcast emails are my newsletters. So I go in and I manually make an email for that month, for that newsletter. You want to have lead capture forms. So that's where, if they're on your Facebook, then you can say, oh, if you want to join that list, just go here. And it'll help them capture it. And one of the important things with that is to give them a lead magnet. So give them something that's valuable for joining your list. And it could be something the company put together, but ideally it's something you made that's unique to you. So if you love food, you can do your top 10 Thrive items, or make your top 20 recipes that you love and put in a little PDF. So whatever it is, like people are kind of hoard their email address a little because they know they get spammed. So give them something of value. And then how to build your list. This is where I said I'm not teaching you lead generation, like how to get your lead. This is however you do it. So if you do expos, if you do parties, if you do online, any of those things, you want to funnel them all to your list so you can start that relationship process. And then you cross-promote. So if you found them at an expo, you put them on your list. My very first email says, join my Facebook group. All the chatting is going on over there. So for me, my 2 things are email and Facebook group. That's where I have the most success. That's where I spend 90% of my time. I dabble in YouTube, I dabble in Instagram, but 90% of the time I spend is there because that's the biggest return for me. That may not be true for you, so you may have to spend some time figuring that out. But the beauty of that, like I said, is they're on my email list, they're getting those recipes, and then they're coming back on their own and and sharing it, and that's building the cycle. And same thing, every time on Facebook, I'm always saying, do you want more like this? Join my list, join my list. So you're back and forth. And who here does a lot of their business on Facebook? Okay, when was it, like the day before the flash sale? Facebook went down? When does that happen, right? Does that kill your business? Guess what? I just emailed my customers and I reached everybody that way instead of depending on Facebook. So it's important to have multiple platforms and not depend on one. Like I spent years and hours and money building a Facebook page, and now my page has 130,000 people on it, and I post something on there and get like 3 people like it, like 10 people see it. Like it's horrible, they choke you because you're not paying from them. And so you don't want to build on somebody else's platform exclusively. So with my email list, I can download and back up my email list, and then I can use that, even if my email system shut down, I still have access to that. And I can take that and put it anywhere. I can advertise on Facebook to that list and get them back if something happened. So that's why it's so important to do those things, but everybody should have an email list. Is there anybody here who doesn't email their customers regularly? You don't have to raise your hand. You all should be doing it. I promise that's how they know you, that's how they're good. It's so important. And you can build relationships in there, but social media is awesome for building relationships, okay? Because it's the interaction, and an email isn't necessarily that. Okay, I'm done, I know, sorry. One final thought. It's so bad. If you're not getting the results you want, who here doesn't feel like they're getting the results you want? Do you beat yourself up about it? Like, man, I know I could be doing more. So I had this conversation the other day, and I had to use my hands. Basically, you have 2 choices. If you're not getting the results you want, if you don't want to feel bad about yourself. You either have to change your expectation or change your actions that you're taking to get those results. And so, if you had a really hard year and you have no time, that's okay. That's the beauty of Thrive. You can always come back. But don't say, why am I not platinum yet when my dad died and I got sick and my dog ran away? Like, that's okay. Just change your expectation a little bit. And then you're going to feel better about yourself and the business, and maybe instead of quitting and saying, oh, I can't do this business, you'll say, you know what? In 6 months, I'm going to reevaluate and I'm going to come back. And that's okay. But if you don't want to change, if you don't want to take away those dreams, we talked about dreams and vision. I want that. Okay, well, you can't get that by doing the same things that you're doing right now that are not getting results. So those are your 2 choices, so decide what you want to do. And I don't think we have time for questions.
Thank you, Jody.